Hassan's voice trembles slightly as he leaves another message, telling Aisha he'll be late again, promising he'll make it up to her this weekend. His tone is full of quiet hope, but she doesn't even press play. Her eyes stay fixed on her screen, scrolling through Rayhan's messages that make her smile without reason. She types slowly, careful with her words, careful to sound mysterious, not desperate. He replies with a voice note, low and confident, saying he misses her laugh. She replays it twice. In that sound, she finds what she calls love, attention wrapped in charm. Hassan's name flashes again. She sighs and flips the phone face down. The ringtone cuts into silence. The house is still. Half-eaten food, cold coffee, a photo of her wedding day turned backward on the table. Aisha used to think silence meant peace. Now it only reminds her of how poor Hassan's dreams feel. He works 2 jobs, leaves before sunrise, comes home past midnight, his hands crack from exhaustion. He tells her every sacrifice is for their future, but she no longer wants a future that smells of sweat and hope. She wants perfume, travel, a life that glitters. Rayhan promises her all that. He says things Hassan never could, things that sound like possibility. She repeats them to herself when she's alone, convincing herself she deserves more. Days pass with Hassan's voice filling the background like soft static, gentle reminders, simple affection. She deletes his messages before reading them. The narrator in her mind whispers that this is freedom. She convinces herself she's the one being suffocated, that his loyalty is a kind of cage. When he calls to say he's saved enough to rent a small apartment, she barely listens. She's already imagining Rayhan's apartment, high ceilings, wine glasses, and laughter that doesn't ask her to cook or clean or wait. She starts spending evenings out, claiming she's visiting a friend. Hassan believes her easily. He always believes her. One evening, Rayhan tells her to stop pretending, to stop hiding. He laughs when she worries about her husband finding out. He's too innocent, he says. He'll never see it coming. Aisha laughs too, but there's something sharp in it, something that cuts her own conscience. She tells herself it's confidence. She starts to enjoy the thought of control, the power to hurt before being hurt. For the first time, she feels in charge of her life. When Rayhan says, "Make him sign the papers," and it clean, she smiles like she's been waiting for the command. Her heart doesn't flutter with guilt anymore. Only excitement. Only victory. Late at night, she stares at the divorce papers lying beside her phone. Her reflection in the black screen looks strange, unfamiliar. She remembers when Hassan used to call her beautiful. The memory doesn't sting, it annoys her. He never understood me, she whispers to herself. She pictures him begging, crying, asking for one more chance, and imagines herself laughing through it. The idea gives her a thrill she can't explain. It's not love she wants now, it's the satisfaction of being the one who leaves first. Outside, rain starts to fall softly. Hassan's text arrives, "I'm on my way home. Got something to show you." He adds a smiley face, simple and sincere. She smirks, typing back, "Sure, I'll be waiting." Her tone is cold even in writing. She sets the table, not for dinner but for a performance. She wants him to see how much she's changed, how little his love means. She wants him to look small next to her confidence. On the phone, she tells Rayhan, "Tomorrow it's done. He'll sign, and we'll finally be free." Rayhan's laughter fills the room, smooth and sure. He says, "Good girl." Her lips curl at the words. For a second, she feels proud, then quickly buries the feeling beneath makeup and perfume. As she waits, the clock ticks louder than usual. She catches her reflection again, this time noticing something hollow in her eyes. She tells herself it's just exhaustion. Hassan's footsteps echo faintly from outside, his keys jingling. She picks up the divorce papers, straightens them with deliberate calm, and rehearses the lines she plans to say. Every sentence sharpened to wound. She imagines the shock on his face, the silence that will follow, the tears he'll try to hide. She wants to see him crumble. Not because she hates him, but because she wants to feel powerful just once. The doorbell rings. She doesn't rush to open it. She lets him wait, savoring the small control. Inside, her pulse beats fast, not from fear but anticipation. The flowers he's holding will wilt before he even knows why he brought them. Tonight, she will end his illusions, end her patience, end the story she no longer wants to live in. Her lips move before she opens the door, whispering to herself like a prayer turned cruel, "Let's see how he begs when I tell him it's over." Then, "Come again," she smiles faintly, adjusts her hair, and turns the handle. Hassan steps inside, tired but smiling, holding a small box wrapped in plain paper. His voice carries the warmth of someone who still believes love can fix things. He says he's been saving for months, that he finally found the place she wanted. Aisha doesn't even look at him. Her phone lies on the table beside a pen and a neat stack of papers. The smell of perfume replaces dinner. He notices immediately, but stays quiet. She says coldly, "You don't have to unpack. We're done." The words fall heavy, but her tone is casual, like she's commenting on the weather. Hassan blinks, confused, thinking she's joking. Then she slides the papers toward him. His smile disappears. "Divorce papers," she says flatly. "Sign them." He looks down, then back at her, searching for the softness that used to live in her eyes. "It's gone?" he asks, almost whispering. "Why?" She doesn't hesitate. "Because I'm done pretending. I'm tired of living like this, tired of scraping through life with a man who dreams small." His hands tremble slightly. He says he thought they were building something together. She laughs, sharp and cruel. "Building what?" "A life of waiting. You think love pays bills? You think I can wear patience like jewelry?" Her voice rises with every word, fueled by something she's been rehearsing. He stands still, not angry, just broken in slow motion. He says softly, "Aisha, I did all this for us." She cuts him off. "No, you did it for your pride. You love working like a slave so you can call yourself a good husband." The air feels tight. The box in his hand falls, the small gift inside sliding out, a key to the new apartment, the one he had been so proud to find. She doesn't even glance at it. "You really think I'd live in that?" she mocks. "Tiny rooms, cheap tiles. It's pathetic, Hassan. You're pathetic." The word stings, but he doesn't respond. He sits, stares at the papers, and finally says, "If this makes you happy, I'll sign." His calmness frustrates her. She expected pleading, anger, anything but acceptance. She tries again to provoke him. "You'll never find someone like me," she says, folding her arms. He looks up, eyes empty. Maybe that's the point. She freezes for a second, but hides it behind a smirk. He takes the pen, his fingers unsteady, and signs his name with slow care. When it's done, he places the papers neatly in front of her. "There," he says softly. "You're free." She expected relief, but the silence that follows feels heavier than she imagined. He stands, picks up the fallen box, places it on the table, and says, "This was supposed to be our new beginning. Keep it as a reminder." Then he walks toward the door. She calls out mockingly, running away already. He doesn't turn around. "No," he replies, voice barely audible. "Just done being the only one trying." As he reaches for the door, her phone rings. Rayhan's name flashes. She answers loudly, making sure Hassan hears. Her tone turns flirtatious, cruelly deliberate. "Yes, it's done," she says into the phone, laughing softly. "He signed." Poor guy didn't even argue. She glances at Hassan to see the reaction. He stands still for a moment, then simply nods, more to himself than to her, and leaves without a word. The door closes quietly, but its echo lingers like thunder. Aisha stares at the closed door, expecting to feel victorious, but her chest feels strangely hollow. Rayhan's voice brings her back. "Good. Come meet me, we'll celebrate." She forces a laugh. "Of course," she says. She freshens her lipstick, spritzes perfume, and leaves, not noticing the small photo of her wedding day slipping from the table to the floor. At the cafe, she finds Rayhan waiting, leaning casually, his phone in hand. He greets her with a grin that doesn't reach his eyes. "So, the loyal husband finally let you go," he says. "Took him long enough." She laughs. "You should have seen his face. He looks so lost." Rayhan doesn't laugh. He sips his drink and says, "You really enjoy breaking people, don't you?" The question catches her off guard. "What do you mean?" she asks. He shrugs. "I mean, it's just funny how fast you turn cold. Makes me wonder how you'd treat me if I lost everything." His tone is half joking, half warning. She frowns. "You're not like him," she says quickly. He smirks. "No one ever is, until they are." The conversation grows tense. She asks if they're finally going public. He leans back, eyes detached. "Aisha, I told you from the start, I'm not looking for something serious." Her expression shifts from disbelief to confusion. "You said you loved me." He chuckles softly. "I said a lot of things. You heard what you wanted." The world tilts under her for a moment. The laughter that had carried her through her cruelty fades into silence. She stares at him, waiting for a punchline that never comes. He checks his phone, stands up, and says, "Don't call me for a while. It's messy right now." Then he walks away, leaving her alone with 2 empty glasses and a heart that suddenly feels heavier than any burden Hassan ever gave her. The sound of clinking cups around her fills the silence, but none of it reaches her. She looks down at her reflection in the dark coffee and sees, for the first time, not confidence, but emptiness. The victory she wanted feels like defeat disguised as freedom. Her phone lights up with Hassan's old messages, still unread. She scrolls through them slowly, each one cutting deeper than the last. The laughter she once had dies completely, replaced by the quiet she once called peace.
Days pass in silence. Aisha wakes to emptiness she once mistook for freedom. The bed feels colder, the house quieter, and every reflection reminds her of a woman she can't recognize. Rayhan's number is still in her phone, but every call goes unanswered. His last message was simple: "Don't make this complicated." She replays it again and again, hoping to find warmth in the words, but there's none. The same confidence that once made her feel powerful now leaves her stranded. Her laughter, her arrogance, her mockery, all have vanished into a stillness that feels endless. She sits by the window, scrolling through old photos, stopping at one of her and Hassan smiling in cheap wedding clothes. It used to embarrass her, now it just hurts. Whispers reach her, neighbors talking about Hassan, about how he's doing better, how he moved to a small place near the city, how he seems peaceful. The word peaceful cuts her deeper than jealousy ever could. She expected him to break, to come crawling back. Instead, he disappeared from her world like smoke, leaving nothing for her to cling to. She writes a message she never sends: "I didn't mean to hurt you." Then deletes it. Pride still fights with regret inside her, and neither wins. One afternoon, a letter arrives, his handwriting unmistakable, careful, calm. Her hands shake as she opens it. The words are few, but they settle heavy in her chest. "I hope you find what you were looking for. I wanted to give you everything I had, but maybe peace was never enough for you. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve to stop bleeding for someone who no longer loves me." She reads it over and over, her breath shallow, her throat tight. It isn't anger that fills her, it's absence. He didn't curse her or beg, he let her go, completely. And that mercy hurts more than hate ever could. Rayhan becomes a ghost. Rumors surface: he's seeing someone else, someone younger, someone he actually introduces as his girlfriend. Aisha pretends he doesn't care, but every post he uploads feels like a knife twisted quietly. She messages him once: "We should talk." He replies hours later: "There's nothing to talk about. Take care." She stares at those 2 words, "take care," like they're a final judgment. The phone slips from her hand. She laughs bitterly, the sound thin and hollow. The woman who once mocked a man for being too kind now cries over one who won't even look back. Her life becomes mechanical: coffee, silence, long nights replaying moments she can't undo. She dreams of Hassan sometimes, standing at the door with flowers, the same moment she destroyed. In those dreams, she wants to stop herself, to say something, anything different. But the scene always ends the same way, her voice cold, his eyes quiet, and the sound of the door closing. Guilt follows her like a shadow she can't shake. It doesn't scream, it whispers, every time she eats alone, every time she walks past a couple holding hands, every time she sees her reflection and remembers what she became. Months later, she sees him again. Not by plan, by accident. A cafe across the street, sunlight through glass. Hassan is there, talking to a woman, laughter soft and natural. He looks lighter, freer. There's no anger in his eyes, no trace of the man she shattered. For a long time, she just watches. She doesn't approach, she can't. When he stands to leave, their eyes almost meet, but he doesn't pause. He walks away with quiet confidence, leaving her rooted in place. That one glance tells her everything. He's healed, and she's still bleeding. When she returns home, the silence feels unbearable. The walls that once made her feel powerful now feel like witnesses. She opens the drawer where she kept the divorce papers, creases worn, signatures fading. She runs her fingers over his name, whispering it like a prayer she never deserved to say. Tears come without sound. It's not love anymore, it's realization. The kind that arrives too late, after everything worth saving has already burned. She finally understands that betrayal doesn't always destroy the other person, it destroys the betrayer from the inside. One memory at a time. That night, she walks outside into the rain. The city hums quietly around her, indifferent to her sorrow. She doesn't have an umbrella, she doesn't care. Raindrops blur her vision as she keeps walking, carrying the papers in her hand, soaked until the ink runs. Somewhere between the streetlights and the storm, she whispers, "I won." But the words sound false, even to her. She stops, looks up at the sky, and lets the rain wash the last traces of makeup from her face. The pride that once defined her feels small now, almost childish. What she mistook for victory was only loneliness wearing perfume. Back at home, she places the ruined papers on the table and sits beside them until dawn. Morning light seeps through the window, soft and indifferent. The air smells of rain and regret. She closes her eyes and sees Hassan's face one last time, not in anger, not in pleading, but in peace. It's the peace she once thought was weakness, now the very thing she craves. The narrator's voice within her says what she can't admit aloud: some betrayals don't end with punishment. They end with silence that teaches more than pain ever could. She exhales slowly, realizing she has nothing left to hide behind. The laughter, the perfume, the pride, all gone. Only truth remains, heavy and unkind. She sits alone with it, knowing this is the life she chose, and that forgiveness, his and her own, will never sound the same again. Hassan's life quietly reshaped itself after everything ended. There was no revenge, no obsession, no looking back, only a tired man learning to live without the weight of someone else's cruelty. The first few weeks were nothing but silence and exhaustion, but gradually, he began to breathe again. He worked longer hours, not to escape his thoughts, but to rebuild what was left of him. The apartment he had once planned for Aisha became his new beginning. Every nail, every paint stroke carried the memory of her, yet he refused to let that memory control him. He didn't delete her number, he simply stopped looking at it. What she had taken from him was real, but what she left behind taught him more than she ever could. And the small routines, morning tea, soft music, walking home after work, he discovered a strange peace. His colleagues noticed how calm he had become, but no one knew why. There was still pain inside him, but it had changed shape, turning into quiet strength. One evening, a friend invited him to volunteer at a shelter, and for the first time in months, he said yes. Helping strangers filled the emptiness she left behind. The kindness he once wasted on someone who mocked it now found people who needed it. Slowly, his smile returned, lighter this time, unforced. The scars remained, but they no longer hurt. They reminded him of what he survived. Aisha, on the other hand, drifted between sleepless nights and half-hearted days. The world she had chosen was full of noise but no meaning. The people she surrounded herself with were temporary reflections of what she lost. She started pretending again, smiling when she wanted to cry, posting pictures of happiness that didn't exist. Each passing month stripped another layer of illusion away. Rayhan's betrayal wasn't what broke her, it was realizing how empty she had been long before he left. She tried reaching out to old friends, but most had drifted away when her arrogance had burned every bridge. Loneliness wasn't new to her, but this kind of loneliness, the one that whispered her own mistakes back at her, was unbearable. One afternoon, she gathered the courage to visit Hassan's old workplace, hoping to catch a glimpse, maybe to apologize. They told her he had moved on, taken a new position in another city. She asked for his number, they said he changed it months ago. Her heart sank, not from rejection, but from the certainty that he had truly erased her from his life. She returned home and sat at the same table where he once begged her to talk. The memory hit her like a storm, the way he looked at her, the quiet desperation she mocked. She whispered an apology into the air, knowing no one would hear it. Weeks turned into months. Aisha tried to convince herself she was fine, but the reflection in the mirror told a different story. The confidence that once defined her had eroded into a quiet sorrow. Her beauty hadn't faded, but her eyes had lost their light. Every night, she replayed the final conversation in her mind, the way Hassan's voice didn't shake when he said goodbye. She used to think silence meant weakness. Now she understood it was power, the power to walk away, to heal without making noise. The more she thought about it, the more she realized how much stronger he had been all along. Meanwhile, Hassan's life kept unfolding. The woman from the cafe, the one Aisha once saw, became a gentle presence in his world. She didn't replace anything, she simply fit where peace had grown. They talked, laughed, and sometimes sat in silence without needing words. Hassan didn't tell her about Aisha. He didn't need to. Some stories belong to the past, not because they are forgotten, but because they've already taught their lesson. He learned to love without losing himself this time, to care without surrendering his worth. What used to be pain had become perspective. Aisha heard about his happiness through others. She told herself she was glad for him, but deep inside, envy burned quietly. Not the kind born from anger, but from regret, the regret of realizing he had built the peace she once destroyed. She looked around her life and saw nothing solid, nothing true. Just a trail of moments built on pride and impulse. The walls of her apartment felt tighter now, suffocating with the echoes of choices she couldn't undo. She often sat by the window, watching the world move on without her, knowing she had done this to herself. One night, she took out Hassan's letter again, now worn and creased. She read the words slowly, tracing each line with trembling fingers. "I forgive you," he had written. It was the only sentence that truly lived inside her now. She whispered it to herself, trying to believe she could forgive herself too. But forgiveness, she realized, isn't something you say, it's something you earn, piece by piece, through the life you live afterward. And she hadn't earned it yet. The guilt stayed, but this time it wasn't punishment. It was a reminder to never treat love as weakness again. As dawn broke, she looked out at the faint light spilling across the city. Somewhere out there, Hassan was probably awake, drinking his tea, moving through his day without bitterness. The thought made her smile, a soft, broken smile, the kind that belongs to someone who finally sees truth clearly. She whispered, "Be happy," and meant it. For the first time, her words carried no bitterness, no pretense. Just quiet acceptance. The world didn't end for either of them, it just changed shape. Hassan carried peace, Aisha carried lessons. He found healing in kindness, she found reflection in silence. Their story didn't need revenge or reunion, it needed distance. Distance that turned pain into wisdom, and love into memory. And when the wind passed through her open window, Aisha closed her eyes and let it brush her face, as if forgiveness itself had stopped to breathe beside her. The story that once began with betrayal ended with understanding. No more battles, no more noise, just two souls finally at rest in different kinds of peace.